It has been a rough stretch of winter weather in February, but while that may be wearing many of us down, grapevines in places like the vineyards of the Finger Lakes can survive it. Though fall springs and warm falls are starting to impact that cold hardiness. Joining us now, Jason Londo. He's Associate Professor at Cornell Agritech. Jason, thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So you're first author on a new study about these climate changes and the impact on grapevines. Basically, right off the top, what did the study find about this? What kind of impact is this weather having?
Sure. It's actually a pair of studies, and we were looking at how different temperature profiles affect how grapevines gain and lose their cold hardiness or their defenses to survive freezing during the winter. And what we found is that fall temperature oscillations, how much the temperatures go from warm to cold, is really important for how they shut down. And how much heat they receive in the late winter is really important on how they time their bud break in the spring.
So how much of an impact is this having or going to have on all the vineyards in this region? Obviously, we know the Finger Lakes is, heavy in the wine industry. So.
Yeah, well, one of the great things we learned from this study is that there's a ton of response variation across the different cultivars we grow in the Finger Lakes. So there's a lot of diversity in the types of grapes we grow, and this gives us a lot of advantages as the winters get warmer and get a little bit more erratic. And so we don't expect this to cause major problems with what we grow, but it does give us a preview of how we should think about frost risk in the future.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that in a second, but I want to ask you, have you been able to identify certain types of grapes that would be more susceptible to this kind of changing climate trend than others, or didn't it go that kind of deep?
Yeah, within caution in that this is one study, but in our region, we grow vinifera grapes, which are European grapes, and these are better for warmer winters. And so we also grow hybrid grapes in this region that are better with colder winters. And what we learned from this study is that the hybrid grapes that survive very cold winters are more sensitive as the winters warm up. And so it leads us to think that some of these hybrid varieties may be more of a problem as we warm up over time.
I know you said it's really only one or kind of two studies in one, but can we start to already draw things? So should people who run and own vineyards, especially in this region, I know you probably can branch it out beyond here, but since we broadcast to Central New York Finger Lakes, are there adjustments that they can already start making or thinking about making to kind of counterbalance what's happening here with the climate changes we're looking at?
The recommendations we would make is always to not plant a single cultivar because growing one type of anything is dangerous when it comes to climate. And so we would be thinking more on the decade level. So as we are learning which varieties are more susceptible to early wake up and then frost, we would recommend that those varieties not be planted in the future. And so we'd be working to introduce new cultivars.
Okay, and I imagine that's the type of thing that you probably should start to be thinking about now. You don't want to have to be like thinking about it, making a snap decision. I imagine you plan things out in these kinds of businesses, many years in advance.
Exactly. Grapevine takes several years from planting to reach fruiting, 3 years, 4 years. And so when you grow any fruit crop, any perennial fruit crop, you really are thinking 5, 10, 15 years out.
Okay.
And so hopefully this will help us make wise choices going forward.
Last one for you. I got maybe about a minute left or so. I mean, does it mean anything for the wines coming from this region? Would we see anything in particular necessarily go away or just shift more of something, less of something? Or what does it mean for the wines that we drink here and we enjoy?
Yeah, that's a great question. Luckily, the wine industry is quite resilient, particularly in our region. We grow grapes, lots of different grapes, lots of different regions. And so when we have something like a frost event that maybe does a lot of damage to one specific cultivar, the wineries can often respond to that by doing different vintages, different blends, even taking things across years. And so there's a lot of resiliency built into our system. There's not really a big reason to panic at this point.
Jason, great info, really interesting study there. I'm sure you guys are going to be continuing to look at this kind of thing. Jason Londo, Associate Professor at Cornell Agritech, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.